Konnichiwa, I am Japan.
When it goes to video game stuff, they usually originate from different parts of the world. For example, Pac-Man originated from Japan before it was sent to America. Same thing goes with consoles, like the Sega Mega Drive, which was created by Sega Japan before it was later rebranded into Sega Genesis by Sega of America. In this case, Earthworm Jim has a history of being published in other countries like Europe, but most importantly, we'll be talking about Earthworm Jim's history in Japan. In 1995, after the success of the first Earthworm Jim game in America, it seemed like it was time to release it in different countries of the world that weren't Europe or the USA. A company known as Takara, a Japanese toy company that started back in 1924, who was well known for their famous toy lines like Transformers, obtained the rights to Earthworm Jim and published it to Japan for the Super Famicom, aka the Japanese NES. First game was released and advertised there in Japan in 1995. It's worth noting that there's only a few differences in this one compared to the American one. The first notable thing is that the Takara logo is in the start screen of the game. The second one is that the control screen is actually changed to a Super Famicom controller, and also it has Japanese text. But most importantly, other than that, you start off with one extra life. For example, in difficult mode, instead of 2 lives you start off with, it's 3 lives you start off with. I couldn't really find that many differences in this version of the game. Later on in 1996, when the Sega Saturn and PS1 versions of the game were released, Takara published the Sega Saturn version of the game to the Sega Saturn in 1996. Also worth noting that due to Takara having the publishing rights to Earthworm Jim, this led to an Earthworm Jim cameo in Battle Arena Toshinden, where in the PC version of the game, Earthworm Jim is actually a playable fighter for the game, and reuses moves and attacks from Rungo Iron. Anyways, the Japanese version of Earthworm Jim 2 on Saturn is identical. Yeah, it's identical to the US version of the game. The only main differences that I could find were the part with the company logos where they actually showed a Takara thing there. As you could see, I couldn't really find out much differences of this version. If any of you guys played the Japanese version and found any other differences, comment down below if I'm missing anything. It's also worth noting that the TV show, Menace to the Galaxy, Earthworm Jim 3D, or any of the other merchandise were also not released in Japan. Meaning that these are the only pieces of Earthworm Jim media in Japan, and from what I remember, there actually is a cult following in Japan, so Earthworm Jim does have a Japanese community. Anyways, the Windows 95 version of Earthworm Jim was actually released in Japan as well. Anyways, before I tell you about the story, if any of you guys that's seen the Lost Media video that I made about this version of the game, then you know what's happening, but for those of you who not, let me tell you the story about this version of the game and the community's hunt for it. It started around either September or October of 2023 when a Japanese copy of the game was found in an eBay auction going for around $94 USD. The community desperately tried getting their hands on this copy of the game, and when someone did, it sadly got lost in the shipping process. They never received it at all, which sadly led to everyone continuing for another copy of the game. That wasn't until 4 months later. January 26, 2024, a user talks about how they found a copy of the game, and this led to everyone in excitement, including myself. The ROM for this has been ripped and has been archived, thankfully, and now it's been found. And now, it's time for me to report and talk about what the Japanese version of Earthworm Jim on Windows 95 has to offer. So the new name for it is actually Earthworm Jim Big Adventure, which sounds like a GBA game. Other than that, what if I told you that this is the same exact damn version of the game, but thankfully the ROM has been archived and found? Yeah, there's no other differences. The only thing is that the manual's in Japanese, and it's just the same thing as the American version of the game. But now, this has become another piece of found Earthworm Jim media. Hopefully in the future, someone can find the lost Earthworm Jim Race Sega Channel game, or heck, maybe even some of the other lost pieces of Earthworm Jim media. Who knows?